Hey, this is Tim Bolecki, and I was watching the news this morning, which is something I often don't like doing because you have the nonsensical talking heads on CNN and MSNBC and the other networks, but what's proliferating everything is this Paul Manafort trial of the guilty verdict, as well as the guilty pleas of Michael Cohen. And I don't care what your political background is, if you support the president, if you don't support the president. Most people that know me or follow me know I'm a pretty big supporter of President Trump. I've been an early adopter and an early supporter of his since the beginning. But my talk here has nothing to do with my politics. What I'm seeing here is an almost absolute abuse of the federal justice system. Here we have Paul Manafort, who is an individual who it appears that the jury found him guilty of at least 8 counts of tax fraud or tax evasion type of charges. If those offenses were committed 10 years ago or more, no one gave a damn about it until there was some association with the president. The issue of Michael Cohen, no one gave a damn about it until there was association with the president. And now what the government has done is indicted these individuals, leverage an extraordinary amount of charges against them where if they're convicted, they will literally spend the rest of their time in jail or in federal prison, and then are attempting to squeeze them for information because they don't care about these two defendants. What they care about is the information they can provide. What you see is this leveraging of the federal justice system against individuals to get information. And so if you're in that type of position where now you're facing something where you can be in prison for the rest of your life, what are you gonna do? Rot away in jail or give them what they want? And that's how that part of the system is being utilized right now. And I understand I don't deal in a lot of federal court areas, and if you're watching this, you're probably not going to be indicted, but in the military court system, we see the exact same thing, but on a different level. In the military court system, if they want to get you out of the military, the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, or if they want you to plead guilty, what prosecutors will do is they will charge you with all sorts of offenses, oftentimes offenses you didn't commit, or tack on charges to leverage the charge sheet against you. For example, if you're charged with a sexual assault or an attempted sexual assault, they often tack on every single charge that they can think about: fraternization, adultery, attempted adultery, drunken disorderly, Article 134, and they will add charges. Some of them they would never charge on their own, so they can leverage a plea deal. So the prosecutors can go to your military attorney and say, if you don't plead guilty, you will do 10, 20, 30 years in prison. However, if you plead guilty, we'll make you a deal where you do 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, wherever that time is. And so now I have clients or you have individuals who are forced into an incredibly difficult situation to take a plea to something they otherwise would never plead to, or run the risk of potentially throwing their life away at trial. Because if they lose, they'll go to jail for the rest of their lives. It's this leveraging of the system, which I've been seeing as long as I've practiced law, and I see it more and more and more. I have a fundamental problem with this, and when attorneys try to do this and charge my clients, my typical response is we're just going to fight it all. Because if these I'm not going to be intimidated or not be scared or not have my clients scared into taking a plea just because there are these ridiculous other charges. That doesn't mean we don't talk about risk tolerance, which we do. We talk about the merits of each case and make a decision, an intentional decision, on whether to take a case to trial or not. But just imagine what individuals must be going through, and I see this all the time when you're looking at a charge sheet, you're facing 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, perhaps the rest of your life in jail over what starts out as a very minor offense, and the rest of the charge sheet is used to leverage you into a guilty plea. Again, I have a fundamental problem with this and how it's done, and we deal with it by not being scared, not being intimidated, and doing things with intentionality by looking at the charges and looking at what the evidence is, and if we can beat them, we take them to trial, and not being forced or intimidated. So the reality is, if you're facing this type of situation where you're looking at a charge sheet and you say, yes, I might have done or I might have committed one of the offenses, or may have liability on one of the offenses, but the other 6 or the other 7 I didn't commit, don't automatically come in and say, I have to plead guilty, I have to throw my life away, because there are options to deal with this. There are options. What you have to do is look at things individually, look at the case as a whole, and not be intimidated and not be a victim of the system. You have to be a victor and not a victim. And how do we become a victor and not a victim? It starts with one thing. It starts with choice. You have the power to choose how you look at things. You have the power to choose who's going to represent you. You have the power to choose how you're going to deal with the situation that you have in front of you. That is the first step. The key to winning when all of this adversity is facing you and you're staring down this charge sheet, which represents pages and pages and pages of charges you fundamentally didn't do and you know are being charged to leverage you, then you have to have that intentionality, and it starts with you to choose to fight it. You have that choice.